Pac-Man. Everyone knows the name, and everyone loves the game. Released in the arcades in 1980 by Namco, it became an instant classic, leading to one of the longest-running video game franchises in history, as well as a legacy as an icon in the industry. But with every great game comes the opportunity to try and do better, to innovate, to make a sequel. And 14 years after Pac-Man first hit the arcades, that's exactly what Namco did, when they released the technical sequel to Pac-Man on the SNES and Sega Genesis, Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures. In this episode of Cartridges and Consoles, we'll look into this entry in the Pac-Man franchise and show how it can provide a unique and entertaining experience, but also how it falls short from its predecessor because of what it tried to do. Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures is a point-and-click adventure game that was released in 1994, starring everyone's favorite yellow mascot. Wait a second, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, that would explain it. Let me just fix this up real quick and we'll try that again. Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures is a point-and-click adventure game that was released in 1994, starring everyone's favorite... Wait a second, why is the script the exact same? Okay, well, obviously I didn't write the script correctly, so let me just boot up the game and make sure I get all this right. Oh my god. So yeah, Namco went from the classic maze game of Pac-Man to this. Well, now that I know I'm not going completely crazy, let's just get to it. According to the box, Pac-Man 2 is described as the world's first interactive cartoon. You use a slingshot and other commands, which are part of an innovative character guidance interface that uses an acronym that definitely still holds true today, and control the environment around Pac-Man to try and complete the adventure at hand. In other words, it's a point-and-click adventure game. There are a total of 4 stories you'll have to guide Pac-Man through as you try to help members of your Pac family, while simultaneously avoiding the ghost controlled by an unknown powerful being who totally isn't spoiled in the game's manual. Oops. Now, despite the game being nothing like any other Pac-Man game, it still does have some positive attributes to hang off of. One thing I will commend the game for is its control scheme. While it is mostly reminiscent of point-and-click games, it does have some unique properties that help it stand out and give it a unique flair. I never mentioned it, but Pac-Man mostly moves on his own in this game, and the only way you can control him is with the character guidance interface the game advertises on the box. You can tell him to look or move in a certain direction with the Y button and the D-pad, or hit something of note with the slingshot for him to interact with. In a way, this CGI makes the game feel like a more unique type of point-and-click game, almost combining with an on-rail shooter game and giving it a unique flair that never really existed prior. The dynamic environment adds on to this interesting control scheme and also helps out the game. Right from the get-go, the game tells you in the tutorial to shoot everything, which is actually not far off, as there are a lot of things to shoot throughout the environment that can alter the outcome of your adventure. In addition, Pac-Man's mood can change depending on what happens, which can also alter the outcome of certain events, for better or for worse. These gimmicks allow every story to seemingly be cleared in a different way, giving you a small sense of replay value to try and see how many different ways you can clear one story. Plus, the animations of some of the emotions that Pac-Man has can give you a good chuckle, and if you're playing the SNES version, the music tempo will even change depending on Pac-Man's mood, which is a nice touch. The game also is pretty quick to beat, with the time to finish all 4 stories ranging from 90 minutes to around 2 hours, meaning you can get through the game relatively quickly if you so choose. There's also a handful of bonuses you can get in the game, including playable versions of Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, the latter you have to unlock on your adventure, which not only is a neat thing to have, but also help from a marketing perspective as it could advertise this game as 3-in-1. There also is a password system, which, let's be real, by the time this game came out it should have had save files, but it still ensures you can continue off where you last were if you shut off the game. Assuming you have a pen and paper. G-O... and can read. Is that a Pac-Man or a C? However, there are some issues I can't get behind, with the first one being obvious.
It's a point-and-click game on the Super Nintendo!
Now, point-and-click games on console is nothing out of the ordinary today, especially with innovative features like motion controls and touchscreens. But in 1994, these things were more of a dream than a concept, meaning playing a point-and-click game on a home console had you playing with this and this. Now granted, this isn't the worst control scheme, as it does work in most situations. Keyword most. In some instances where you're required to target something as fast as you can, this control method is not ideal, as you gotta line up the shot and prepare the slingshot before the target moves or is off screen. This can especially be a pain on the action segments or during the special Super Pac-Man mode, as those require you to hit the ghosts or obstacles as fast as you can, which isn't easy when either everything is constantly moving or the screen is moving extremely fast. Speaking of those action segments, they are sadly the biggest letdown of the game. Two of them, being the minecart sections and the hang glider sections, are highlighted as points on the back of the box to try and advertise the game, which makes it sound like there would be a lot of them, right? Well, across the entire game, there's only 2 minecart sections and 1 hang glider section, and of all 3 action segments, 2 of them are accessible in the same storyline. So whatever hype they were trying to generate here landed flatter than a piece of bread on a table. However, the biggest problem I have with the game is that it really doesn't feel like a Pac-Man game. If you replace all the Pac-Man characters in this game, even including the ghosts, the game really feels like it could have anyone as the main protagonist and still be a good game. The only semblance of Pac-Man in this game is the power pellets that turn him into Super Pac-Man. But outside of that, that's really it. It doesn't feel like a direct sequel to Pac-Man, rather just another spin-off game, which had been done before this, but this one having the 2 in the title sells it as something it just isn't. Overall, Pac-Man 2 is an interesting game with a pretty neat central mechanic. However, it's also a game with a heap of problems that definitely cannot be overlooked. The advertised character guidance interface is a very neat feature when used correctly, and the game's environment plays perfectly into this gimmick, helping it stand out even more. However, it's easy to see that the game's control method was not meant for the consoles it released for, which combined with a lot of small problems that gradually add up, really hurts the game in the long run. Plus, the game really doesn't feel like it's a part of the Pac-Man franchise, which can be a good thing if it weren't for the fact that the title referred to this as a direct sequel to the original. It's overall a fine game to play, but don't expect it to be anything to write home about, especially if you're going into it expecting the sequel to Pac-Man and the next big thing. Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures on the Super Nintendo gets my rating of 4 cartridges out of 10.